All right, let's start with this part, everyone. Aldehydes, ketones, and carboxylic acids. All right, what exactly is this part? First of all, we know that the carbonyl group, that is the C double bond O group, is made up of there are basically the two compounds where we say to the carbonyl group, if the H atom is directly attached, those are called as CHO group is the aldehydic group. That's a terminating functional group. And if the carbonyl group is attached to two similar or dissimilar alkyl or aryl groups, that is what we call as ketones. That is one parameter what we have. So depending on that part, we are going to now talk about first the nomenclature part of it, and then we'll go to the methods of preparation. And then further, another carbonyl compound, that is carboxylic acid, is what we will be discussing. Starting with the first part, the common system. Common name of aldehydes derived from the corresponding common name of carboxylic acids, whose ic acid is replaced by the word aldehyde. Why from carboxylic acid? Because aldehydes on oxidation gives respective carboxylic acid. That's why the common names comes from there. All right. Certain places we also use the Greek nomenclature, that is the trivial system. The trivial, less commonly used system, the Greek nomenclature of alpha beta system, where to the functional group, the carbon atom directly attached is called my alpha carbon atom, and so on. So we have, keep in mind, the CHO carbon is not the alpha carbon. Next to CHO is my alpha carbon atom. So that way the name goes. So acetaldehyde, benzene ring with CHO, that's what we call as benzaldehyde. Then we have here, look at that compound. Now here, as there is a branch over there, we don't have any common name of an acid, from where it is extracted. So here we use the trivial system. So next to CHO, keep in mind, that's your functional group, alpha, beta, and then gamma. That's why it's called beta bromo, 4 carbon atoms totally. So that's why the name acid with 4 is butyric acid. So butyraldehyde. That's how the name comes. All right. Benzaldehyde is a name which IUPAC has given recommendation. It can be used in the common as well as in the IUPAC system. And there is one more name to it. If you have to give it as an IUPAC, also call it as benzene carbaldehyde. So you can also call it as benzene carbaldehyde. Okay. Then coming to the common name of ketones. Now ketones to the C double bond, both sides we can have alpha carbon. So we name those alpha carbon atom as alpha and alpha dash, and beta as beta dash on both the sides. All right. So for example, suppose I'm talking like acetone, CH3, C double bond O, CH3. So I can have basically this as alpha. This one can be alpha dash, that way. All right. Now some ketones also have some historical names, like dimethyl ketone is called acetone. Why? Dimethyl ketone, the nail polish remover, we call it as acetone for a very simple reason, because on oxidation, dimethyl ketone gives acetic acid. So acetic acid, acid comes from that part, and one, that is the ketone part. That's why acid from acetic acid plus one, that's acetone. So that's why we have some of the special names. And if alkyl phenyl ketones are usually named by adding the name of the acyl group as prefix to phenone. Acyl is RC double bond O group, keep in mind. So whenever the ketone is directly attached to the benzene ring, we say the ketonic group is generally given the lowest number, or it's at position 1. Like here we call it as acetophenone, because there are 2 carbon atoms, what we have. So acid 2 is acid basically. So acetophenone, that way. Same way here we have propiophenone. So 1, 2, 3. 3 is propionic acid. So from there the ketone, again the ketonic group is directly attached to the benzene ring. That's why propiophenone. And the last one is benzophenone, because benzoic acid. So that's why benzo and then the word phenone. So whenever the ketonic group is directly attached to the benzene ring, use the word ophenone. All right, that's one. Then the next one we have the IUPAC name. IUPAC name, aldehydes are named as alkanal, where it's a terminal group, terminating group, always towards the end. So the CHO carbon will be always at position 1. So that's what it says. The aldehydic group getting number 1. Whereas in case of ketones, if it is aliphatic, then the carbonyl group is non-terminating. It will come in between over there. And in case of cyclic ketones, the carbonyl carbon is numbered at 1. All right, that is one part over there. So look at that. Here, how do we do? Ethane null. Then here aldehyde group is given 1 and then all of them, but the write-up is alphabetic. 4 bromo, 3 methyl, 7 is heptane, heptane null. Ketonic group, non-terminating in between, so pentan 2-one. And like this now when it is there, then the ketonic group is given the first priority, methyl third, so it's 3-methyl cyclopentanol. And when the aldehyde group is directly attached to the ring, then the suffix what we write in the last, carb aldehyde is added to the name over there. So that's why look at that name. How do we name this part? 3-methyl cyclohexane carbaldehyde. There is no benzene ring inside. That's why I said no. If it was only benzaldehyde, then the other name for benzaldehyde is benzene carbaldehyde. Same way, look at that. This is 4-nitro benzene carbaldehyde, or you can also call it as 4-nitro benzaldehyde, because benzaldehyde name is used in both common and IUPAC. Common name benzaldehyde is accepted an IUPAC name also, while the other aromatic aldehydes are named as substituted benzaldehyde. Like look at that. CHO group main position. So third position is bromo. So common name 3-bromo benzaldehyde or 3-bromo benzene carbaldehyde or meta-bromo benzaldehyde as the common name. So in the IUPAC you can use benzaldehyde as well as you can write the word benzene carbaldehyde. Now coming to the structure of the carbonyl group. The carbonyl group, as we see, it's a polar group due to difference in electronegativity. Now, if I talk about the hybridized state, carbon is forming how many bonds? Now, if you talk about the bonds formed with respect to carbon, then I can have over there as 1, 2, 3 sigma and 1 pi. Whenever carbon forms 3 sigma and 1 pi, it's going to be sp2 hybridized, trigonal planar, angle of 120 degree. That's the part over there what we'll see. All right. So that's the part. So look at that structure now. That's of the carbonyl group. I want everybody please concentrate there. So carbon oxygen, that's an sp2p sigma bond because carbon is sp2 hybridized and the p orbital of oxygen. So that's sigma. Then you have a pi bond that is basically the 2pz of one carbon with the 2pz of another carbon. So that's a pp lateral overlap. That's the part. Is that clear? And this will be the remaining 2 sigma, what will be formed, that's sp2 hybridized of state of carbon. So trigonal planar structure what we have of the carbonyl group. Then coming down the nature, that's because of carbon is less electronegative, so it's electropositive over there. So the positive charge is mainly on the carbon. That's what you see in these structures. Oxygen we all know has got basically 2 lone pairs. So if the pi electrons are shifted, oxygen will have 3 lone pairs and it will have a negative charge, and carbonyl carbon will have a positive charge. So the resonating structure, and this explains okay why we will see the reactions, that is nucleophilic addition reactions in case of aldehydes and ketones. So due to polar nature over there, carbonyl group acts as a nucleophile and carbonyl group acts as a electrophile because it's positive, and oxygen will act as a nucleophile because it's got a negative charge. And in the resonance part, understand the dipole moment. It's basically dipole-dipole interaction. So the dipole moment of aldehydes and ketones is greater as compared to ethers. So MCQ coming with respect to boiling point, aldehyde ketones will have greater dipole moment. The range is 2.3 to 2.8 dBi, whereas for ether it is 1.15 to 1.3 dBi. So you will have greater dipole moment of aldehyde ketones as compared to ethers. Coming to its methods of preparation, oxidation of primary and secondary alcohols. How do we do that? Normally we use strong oxidizing agent like acidified potassium dichromate or alkaline KMnO4. But the better reagent to be used, one is this Collins reagent. This is an extra part that is nothing but CrO3, that's chromic oxide with pyridine. Second, these two are important what we have. One is PCC, that's pyridinium chlorochromate, and the other one is PDC, that's pyridinium dichromate. These two are mild oxidizing agents. They only liberate one nascent oxygen oxidize the primary or the secondary alcohol to respective aldehydes or ketones respectively. Primary alcohols, that is CH2OH. So remember, whenever I talk about a primary alcohol, the characteristic functional group is CH2OH. And whenever I talk about a secondary alcohol, the characteristic group is CHOH. So primary alcohol gets oxidized to aldehyde, secondary alcohol gets oxidized to ketone. But in the exam, if I use acidified potassium dichromate or alkaline KMNO4 or acidified KMNO4, reaction will not stop at aldehydes. It will finally go till acid. That's why we use mild oxidizing agents, PCC or PDC or Collins reagent. Collins reagent is an extra point over there. PCC, PDC, two to be done regularly. So look at that. Primary alcohol, CH2OH, getting converted to aldehyde. All right. Secondary alcohol, CHOH, PCC, in the presence of dichloromethane, getting converted to a ketone. That way. All right. If you use KMNO4 or something, then that's what it says. 1 degree alcohol to aldehydes, since these reagents prevent the further oxidation of aldehydes to acid. So if you are using acidified dichromate or KMNO4, then they can't stop. But PCC, PDC or Collins reagent will stop the reaction. So on the arrow, please check that. PCC, PDC means primary alcohol to aldehyde, secondary alcohol to ketone. That is one. Another advantage it says of this reagent is it does not attack the double bond present in alcohols. So like for example, the compound allyl alcohol, we all know allyl, all right? Functional group is attached to a carbon whose nature is sp3 hybridized and is directly attached to a CC double bond. That's an allyl group. My version, one at short of propene, that is allyl. So allyl alcohol, when you oxidize, only the CH2OH part, that is this CH2OH, gets oxidized to aldehyde. The double bond remains intact. One more point, this is an extra point what we have. I'll be specifying extras, which is only knowledge based, okay? Because these are not given in NCERT also. But in MCQs, sometimes out of the way because these are of the earlier syllabus. So if it comes, you should know. Open your oxidation. What is that? Any 2 degree alcohol will get oxidized to over there nothing but a ketone in presence of a reagent that is nothing but a reducing agent, aluminium tert butoxide, where it is in the presence of excess of acetone. So where what is happening, 2 degree alcohol gets oxidized to respective secondary 2 degree alcohol gets oxidized to ketone in presence of excess of acetone, where what is happening over there, the acetone is this clear over there, and it will give what it says over there. In presence of excess of acetone gives ketone in good yield without the danger of further getting oxidized to carboxylic acid. So it's basically like this. Any 2 degree alcohol, all right, will get oxidized to respective ketone, all right, in presence of excess of acetone. But what will happen? 2 degree alcohol is getting oxidized, and this is in the presence of aluminium tert butoxide. So tert butoxide, if I say CH3 thrice CO, aluminium tert butoxide, this will be again 3 times and then Al. That's aluminium tert butoxide. Okay. In presence of acetone, where 2 degree alcohol has got oxidized and acetone will get reduced to over there nothing but isopropyl alcohol. So it's basically like a redox reaction only. So open your oxidation, any 2 degree alcohol can get oxidized to ketone in presence of acetone, which will get reduced to isopropyl alcohol. And the reducing agent is aluminium tert butoxide, that is CH3 thrice CO, the whole thrice. Why I wrote whole thrice? Because aluminium valency is 3. That's why 3. So aluminium tert butoxide, that's open your oxidation, 1. Then the next one we have catalytic dehydrogenation. This is one of the best methods to prepare aldehydes and ketones. Why? That is heating with copper at a temperature of 573 Kelvin or 300 degrees Celsius, where you get aldehydes and ketones. So primary alcohols on reduction will give aldehyde. Secondary alcohol on catalytic dehydrogenation, removal of hydrogen. So from 1 degree alcohol, if you remove hydrogen, you get aldehyde. Secondary alcohol, you will get ketone. And here tertiary alcohols, if you try to do, then they don't undergo dehydrogenation. Tertiary alcohols will undergo dehydration to give you alkene plus water. All right. Now, this is the best method to prepare aldehydes and ketones. Reason, there is no risk of further oxidation. Like how we have K2Cr2O7, KMNO4, there is a probability the aldehyde or ketone will get oxidized. Here, the probability is not that because you have removed the hydrogen. So there is no oxygen supplied. So the aldehyde cannot get oxidized further. So remember, aldehydes on dehydrogenation with copper at 573 Kelvin, aldehyde gives primary alcohol. A primary alcohol gives aldehyde plus hydrogen. Secondary alcohol gives ketone plus hydrogen. And tertiary alcohol undergoes over there nothing but intramolecular dehydration to give you alkene plus water. Then we have dry distillation of calcium salts or fatty acids. Now calcium salts, calcium valency is 2. So if you take any acids and react with active metals like sodium, potassium, calcium, they form their respective salts and they liberate hydrogen gas. So here we have a salt that is calcium formate, calcium salt of formic acid. So if you heat it, dry distilled, it's decarboxylation, removal of carbon dioxide in the form of calcium carbonate. It forms respective formaldehyde plus it gives calcium carbonate. If you want to prepare a higher aldehyde, you have to take 2 calcium salts where one of them is always calcium formate. That's why, and to understand how one of them is always calcium formate, answer is the H part. But to prepare a higher aldehyde, you require one of them as calcium formate to get that H. But then this is not a good method. Reason, you will not get only one aldehyde. You will get a mixture of, along with the aldehyde, you will get a mixture of 2 different aldehydes or ketones also. All right. So if I take calcium formate and if I'm taking over there nothing but calcium acetate, then again, I'll be getting over there acetaldehyde, but I'll be getting 2 other products also. That's the part. That's what is given. And same way, if you take any other salt other than calcium formate, then you will get respective ketone. Like for example, if I take only calcium acetate, then calcium acetate only will give me respective acetone. See there what it says. This method is not suitable, all right, for the preparation of aldehydes except formaldehyde. The reason is this only, because you get a mixture. Like see, suppose I take calcium formate and I take calcium acetate. I'll be getting formaldehyde, acetaldehyde, and acetone. So you get a mixture of 3 different products if you take 2 different calcium salts. So single calcium salt gives you only 1 product. So calcium formate only gives formaldehyde. Higher calcium salts will give respective ketone. This method is suitable for the preparation of only symmetrical ketones. Symmetrical, both sides are same. Okay. R, C double bond to R dash. So when R and R dash are same, so symmetrical ketones like acetone, pentane, threone, benzophenone. Unsymmetrical ketones like butanone, pentane, threone, again, cannot be prepared. Same why? Because you'll be taking 2 calcium salts. And 2 calcium salts will always give a mixture of 3 different ketones. Look at that. Calcium acetate and calcium propionate, when they are dry distilled, we get a mixture of 3 ketones: acetone, butanone, and pentane, threone. All right. Now what it says. Now this third point is an extra point with respect to MCQs. So I'm marking this important just for knowledge based. Instead of calcium salts of monocarboxylic acid, matlab having only one COH. Suppose I take a calcium salt of dicarboxylic acid. Then by using calcium salt of dicarboxylic acid, you will get cyclic ketones like calcium adipate. Calcium adipate is what we also call it as hexane dioic acid. It has got 2 COH groups over there. All right, so it's like this: CH3, CH2 4 times. 1 second. COH, here also COH. It's called hexane dioic acid. Total 6 carbon atoms, what we have. Okay. So if you take a calcium salt of like this and dry distilled, 1 carbon will go in the form of calcium carbonate. Rest will become a cyclic structure. You will get cyclopentanone. So keep in mind, normally we have only calcium salt of monocarboxylic acid, but if it is a dicarboxylic acid like adipic acid, what we see here, that is hexane dioic acid. Hexane dioic acid. Then we'll get a cyclic ketone. That's one. Then Reduction now, people, reduction of acid chloride, that is RCOCl, nitriles, that is cyanides, and esters. What is this part? One, we have reduction of acid chloride with hydrogen in the presence of Lindlas catalyst. We had done Lindlas catalyst in hydrocarbons, if anybody remembers. Alkynes, if you react with hydrogen in the presence of Lindlas catalyst, reaction stopped at alkenes. Otherwise, as per Sabatier-Sanderson's reaction, alkynes, if you add hydrogen, you get alkenes. To that, if you add hydrogen, alkenes gets converted to alkanes. All right. To stop it at alkenes, we use Lindlas catalyst. Over here, it's palladium catalyst over barium sulfate, poisoned by addition of sulfur or quinoline. The logic of poisoning it so that you prevent the further reaction. This is called Rosenmund reaction, where acid chloride, or we have an aromatic acid chloride with hydrogen, palladium in the presence of barium sulfate, you get respective aldehyde. So you can convert the COCl group to CHO group. That is the main part. So please understand the logic of the groups so that you know Rosenmund, COCl gets converted to CHO. And if you add further hydrogen normally, what will happen? Aldehyde should have been reduced to primary alcohol, but that does not happen because you are poisoning the catalyst to prevent the further reduction. Second, we have partial reduction of cyanides. That's called Stephen's reduction, where cyanides are reduced with SnCl2, where tin is in +2 state, stannous chloride and HCl, which liberates two nascent hydrogen. And triple bond breaks, it forms a salt. That's called an aldimine hydrochloride salt, which if you hydrolyze, we get respective aldehyde. So Stephen's reduction, everyone, partial reduction, where we say on partial reduction, the cyanide is reduced to aldehyde. If it is complete reduction, cyanide is reduced to primary amine. That is Mendes reduction. What we have done in halogen, we'll be doing it in amines also. Okay, cyanide with 4 nascent hydrogen in presence of sodium and ethanol as the reducing agent becomes RCH2NH2. So C triple bond N becomes CH2NH2. Partial reduction, 2 nascent hydrogen, C triple bond N becomes CHO, that way. Then reduction of cyanides, carboxylic acids and their derivatives, that is basically acid chlorides, esters, lactones and amide. We know lactones, right? Oxygen atom next to a carbonyl group in a closed chain. That's the lactone part with dibyl H. Dibyl H, diisobutyl aluminium hydride, where cyanide is again reduced to aldehyde, similar to Stephen's reduction. So cyanide, you add 2 nascent hydrogen, it forms its imine salt. And that imine salt on hydrolysis gives you aldehyde. Similar way, you can reduce an ester also. How? Ester is made up of 2 parts, acid and alcohol. All right. Ester's normal preparation we have seen in alcohols part. Esters के 4 preparation methods. One was dry silver salt of carboxylic acid plus alkyl halide gives you ester. Alcohols plus acid chloride gives you ester. Alcohols plus acid anhydride gives you ester. And fourth was acid plus alcohol in presence of conc H2SO4 gives you ester. So ester, when you react with dibyl H precisely at 195 Kelvin with 1 mole of dibyl H, then OR dash is basically nothing but your alkoxy group, which comes from respective alcohol. All right. So if it comes from alcohol over there, that reduces back as alcohol. And the RCO part is my acid part. So acid part gets reduced to respective aldehyde. This is basically with 1 mole of dibyl H. If you take 1 more mole of dibyl H, 2 moles of dibyl H are used, then the aldehyde will get further reduced to give you primary alcohol. So you will basically get esters when you reduce with 2 moles of dibyl H. You will be getting basically 2 alcohols. All right, that's what it says. 2 primary alcohols are there. That's what it says. If reduction is carried out with 2 equivalents of dibyl H, the reduction doesn't stop at room temperature, but initially formed aldehyde is further reduced to corresponding alcohol. What I'm talking is a very simple example. Suppose I'm having methyl acetate. Okay. Now methyl acetate is this compound, CH3COO, CH3. That's methyl acetate. Now, if I take 1 mole of dibyl H, then with 1 mole of dibyl H, what's going to form? Now, this is going to be the methyl part. So this methyl will form its alcohol. And here you have in the ahead part, that is in the acid part, you have how many carbon atoms here now? 2 carbon atoms. So what is the aldehyde with 2 carbon atoms? Acetaldehyde. But instead of 1, suppose this was the same reaction was with 2 moles of dibyl H. Then what would have happened? Methyl alcohol is fine, but the acetaldehyde formed, is this clear? Would have got reduced. Acetaldehyde on reduction will give you ethyl alcohol. So methyl acetate, is this clear? Will give me methanol plus the acid part. That is the acetic acid part with 1 mole gives acetaldehyde. With 2 moles, that acetaldehyde will also get reduced to ethyl alcohol. You will get basically methanol and ethanol. That's the part. Now dibyl H important, it reduces alkynes to alkenes, but it does not reduce the double bond of the alkenes. All right. And can be used to reduce unsaturated cyanides to corresponding unsaturated aldehydes. So what are we trying to talk is, it doesn't reduce the CH double bond CH. It will only reduce the cyanide to respective aldehyde. To reduce the double bond, we have discussed, we require molecular hydrogen in the presence of a catalyst. Then you can reduce that triple bond also to its corresponding single bond. So if they say on the arrow hydrogen, then you reduce all of them, the double bond as well as the cyanide. That's one. Then comes the next one. That's by using dialkyl cadmium, where Grignard's reagent RMGX, alkyl halide with magnesium in presence of dry ether. What we do is, first of all, first we react with cadmium chloride. It forms a compound dialkyl cadmium. This dialkyl cadmium is made to react with acid chloride. So it gives you respective ketone. So 1 R in the ketone comes from acid chloride and 1 R dash comes from dialkyl cadmium, and you get respective ketones over there. That's the part. Addition of Grignard's reagent to nitriles. Normally we say we have things, what is that? Alkyl cyanide. If you react with Grignard's reagent, we get respective ketones where the C triple bond and breaks, it becomes a double bond O, and the R dash comes off Grignard's reagent. So R was from the cyanide, R dash was from Grignard's. C triple bond and breaks, it becomes C double bond O. So that's a very C triple bond N is becoming C double bond O. And what it says, a similar reaction with HCN gives aldehyde. This is a very important point. Normally alkyl cyanides we have. If I use hydrogen cyanide, matlab HCN, and I react with Grignard's reagent, then what am I going to get? Now that's H part, HC double bond, matlab this part will be aldehyde. I will get respective aldehyde, R C double bond O H. Well, please listen carefully here, everyone, how this works. This R is coming from Grignard, what I already have. And here the cyanide part, cyanide becomes C triple bond N, becomes C double bond O. And the H was already attached to C double bond O, that also gets attached. Got it? So all you have to do is, if it is hydrogen cyanide, the last part H will come, it forms respective aldehyde. Alkyl cyanide with Grignard's will give respective ketone. Reaction of all Grignard's reagent are basically nucleophilic addition reaction, where the nucleophile is the carbon ion generated by heterolytic fission of Grignard's reagent. Okay, that's one. Look at that. Cyanide plus Grignard's reagent. So here, if I have to tell you, then this will go in a totally different format. Look at this part. CH3, a faster approach. This CH3 is this CH3. Then the C triple bond N becomes C double bond O. And the third part comes is basically the CH3 of the Grignard is the another CH3. We get respective acetone. So intermediate form, this one, what you see is your magnesium intermediate complex. So remember in Grignard's reagent, none of the carbon atoms are lost. C triple bond and become C double bond O. As there was a methyl group that got attached and the other methyl came from Grignard, we got ketone. Now this, what is given as another part as an information, this is again an extra point for you to understand. Okay, aldehydes and ketones can also be prepared by the action of Grignard's reagent on orthoformic ester. So a compound ethyl orthoformate, that is OC2H5 group is 3 times. So basically, how do you add it? So here, first of all, this CH3 will add to this carbon. So look at that. The addition takes place as this methyl group will get added. So we get CH3CH OC2H5, where one of the C2H5 groups, is this clear? That will go out as nothing but as a magnesium salt. So you will have OC2H5 along with MgBr. So that's a salt, what we call as over there nothing but ethoxy magnesium bromide. That's a salt what it forms. And in this compound, again, when it undergoes hydrolysis, then what's going to happen is you will again have over there a formation of aldehyde, and plus these C2H5O2 will go out as ethyl alcohol. 2 moles of alcohol. So there's a misprint. This aldehyde has to be written over here. And this CH3CH will become the aldehyde on acid hydrolysis. All right. That's an extra point. It is just for knowledge base in case in sometimes something comes like this. Then comes hydrolysis of geminal dihalide. Disme we have 2 things, geminal terminating and geminal non-terminating. Like look at that, 1,1-dichloroethane, ethylidene dichloride, that is geminal terminating dihalide. So geminal terminating with aqueous KOH will always give aldehyde. And how do I catch? Just see the carbon atoms. CH3CH, CH3CH. 1 O will come over there. That's it. You're done. Second is 2,2-dichloropropane. That's isopropylidene dichloride, which is again geminal non-terminating. So non-terminating will give ketone. So CH3 twice C will remain as it is, and you will have a ketonic group ka O double bond O. That's it. So geminal terminating with aqueous KOH gives aldehyde. Geminal non-terminating with aqueous KOH gives you ketone. That is the part. All right. And vicinal, anytime just for logic, vicinal dihalides with aqueous KOH will give respective glycols. That's a dihydric alcohol. Then hydration of alkynes. What's in hydration of alkynes? Hydration of alkynes basically is nothing but alkynes reacting with water in presence of 40% H2SO4 and 1% mercuric sulfate at 333 Kelvin will give over there a compound which on tautomerism gives aldehydes of ketones. Where very important, only acetylene, that's an important point which is flashed here. With acetylene only acetaldehyde is formed. So the only acetaldehyde, only aldehyde formed by hydration of alkynes will be nothing but acetaldehyde. Keep in mind. Okay. Higher alkynes, when you add water, they all will add as per Markovnikov's rule, and you will get a compound which on tautomerism will give only ketones. You won't get any aldehydes over there. So keep that in mind. Same with this 9th one, that's an extra method similar to what we have done, hydroboration oxidation, what we have done earlier, if anyone remembers. We did in alcohols, right? Hydroboration oxidation, if you do of alkenes, we got primary alcohols. Similar type we have hydroboration oxidation of a symmetrical non-terminal alkyne gives a simple ketone, but unsymmetrical non-terminal alkynes gives a mixture of both the possible ketones in which the methyl ketone will predominantly be formed. What is a methyl ketone? COCH3. So what it says, when you have hydroboration oxidation of a non-terminal alkyne, non-terminal means what? One in between, like see bute-2-ine. So in bute-2-ine, if you observe, what is the part over there? Where we have the triple bond, okay? There you will put your ketonic group. That's it. One part over there. So you get basically ethyl methyl ketone. So look at that. You add diborane, addition is similar like anti-Markovnikov addition. So here we have the BH3 ka BH2 getting added. Is this clear? To one of the carbon, because it's here in this case it is symmetrical. One H will go on the other one. Then there is with H2O2. So first step is addition of diborane to form its respective N-alkyl borane. Second step is with H2O2 and OH, that is an oxidation step. First was hydroboration, second is oxidation. Oxidation with a mild oxidizing agent in an alkaline medium, it forms an enol. Enol, ene plus ol. And this compound undergoes tautomerism. Now, when we are talking about tautomerism, what's going to happen over there? You will have like this. See here, please. How do you explain tautomerism if I have to talk? The tautomerism can be explained in a simple funda like what will happen over here? This H will move to this carbon. Sorry, I'll just erase this and show you. So this H will move to this carbon and the double bond will come here. So you will have respective butane 2O. All right, this is one. And if it is an unsymmetrical alkyne, like look at that, this is unsymmetrical part over there, pent-2-ine. Then here there's a probability of two compounds formed. You can have pentan 2-one and pentan 3-one. Both can be formed where it says methyl ketones are predominant. Methyl ketone is this. That's a methyl ketone, which has basically 3 replaceable alpha H. So this will also give a positive iodoform test. Where it says methyl ketone will be a major product. All right, that's one part. This diborane directly we don't have, it's an extra method, but remember symmetrical, how it forms, and with unsymmetrical part, what does it form? Okay, so if you have two groups similar, then there's only probability of one, but if you have it over there as two different groups, then the probability is of different ketones, where methyl ketones are major product. That's because of the stability part. Then aldehydes can be, yeah, now look at that. Now this is the other part what we have. Aldehydes can likewise be prepared from terminal alkynes. Terminal, always the triple bond will be at the end, position 1, like say but-1-ine. So in this case, what is happening? The last part, this C triple, just see this part. C triple bond CH will become CH2CHO. That's the part. Similar to what we have as diborane, but here what it says, but to avoid complications due to double bond of diborane, because diborane also B2H6, we have the banana bond there. We use a compound over there, nothing but known as diazeamyl borane in place of B2H6. So you need a different compound, which we write it in short as SiA2BH. All right. So that's SiA2BH, that's diazeamyl borane, what is used over there. All right. Then reductive ozonolysis, this we did in hydrocarbons. Alkenes, when you react with ozone, it forms an ozonide. I've told you how to do it. Put a triple bond between the double bond, sorry. Put one oxygen in between and 2 across it. One sec. You'll be putting one oxygen in between the double bond and 2 across the double bond, and then join them, form an ozonide, and then cut that ozonide. Is this clear? So if it forms an ozonide, break it up, you get a mixture of 2 aldehydes, 2 ketones, or a mixture of aldehyde and ketone. So remember, very short way to do, wherever I have my alkyne, like see, for example, alkene, sorry, suppose I have an alkene here like this. So you will put 1, 2, 1 O, second O down between the two like this. That's an ozonide. And then break the ozonide like this. We get respective, in this category, we'll get 2 ketones, but we can get 2 aldehydes or a mixture of aldehyde and ketone. That's ozonolysis. Second step is, first is addition of ozone. Second step is the ozonide breaks down in presence of zinc dust and water. Next, we have Walker process. This is basically formation of aldehydes, what we have, where this is an important one. This basically goes, I'll tell you where this Walker process was. If anybody remembers, Walker process was in the part of D and F block elements, what we did, where D block elements are mainly used as catalysts. All right, where CuCl2 is used as a catalyst to convert ethene to acetaldehyde. So the reason why D block elements are used as catalyst, because of their availability of variable oxidation states. Electrons are utilized from both the shells, the valence shell as well as the penultimate shell, due to which we say, okay, these, the main catalyst what we all have is nothing but the D block element. So you have copper chloride, where copper is in +2 over there. So that is one. So ethene converted to acetaldehyde in presence of CuCl2. This was one of the use of the catalyst in D block. Friedel-Crafts acylation, what we have done in hydrocarbons, you'll be able to convert benzoyl chloride to benzophenone on reacting with benzene in presence of anhydrous AlCl3. An example of electrophilic addition reaction, electrophile is the acylium ion. Acylium ion are C double bond O with a positive charge. That's what I call as an acylium ion. All right. So you will have C6H5CO and another C6H5 coming there. And along with that, you'll have removal of HCl. Then Fry's rearrangement is again an extra point what we have. What it says, Fry's rearrangement of phenyl esters. So if you have phenyl esters with anhydrous aluminum chloride in presence of carbon disulfide, it will give a mixture of ortho and para hydroxy ketones. Now this is a very important word to catch, hydroxy ketones. मैंने कहाँ बोला था किसी को याद हो तो? Hydroxy ketones are the compounds which are reduced by Fehling solution as well as by Tollens reagent. So normally we say no, only aldehydes reduce, ketones do not reduce, but hydroxy ketones are the ones which are reduced by Fehling solution as well as Tollens reagent. Hydroxy ketone means OH group of alcohols and a ketonic group are present in the same compound. So that's Fry's arrangement, important over there. Okay. Then benzaldehyde, we have separate method, oxidation of toluene with CrO3, that's chromic oxide in acetic anhydride, followed by alkaline hydrolysis. Yes. Then we have ETART reaction using chromyl chloride, where toluene is converted to, over there nothing but, toluene is converted to benzaldehyde. Same way, oxidation of benzyl chloride with lead nitrate. Side chain is very important, everyone. This is the commercial method. Side chain chlorination of toluene to benzyl chloride followed by hydrolysis will give you benzaldehyde. That's an important one. Then is Gattermann-Koch formylation, where we have a combination of carbon monoxide and HCl, which forms an intermediate unstable compound, formyl chloride, HCOCl, in presence of aluminum chloride and small amount of cuprous chloride. Benzene is converted to benzaldehyde. That's called Gattermann-Koch formylation. Substituting the H of the benzene by a CHO group that way. Then treating benzene with a mixture of HCN and HCl in the presence of anhydrous HCl followed by hydrolysis. That's only Gattermann's aldehyde. This is an extra point. We have mainly is the Gattermann-Koch formylation. Okay, that's one. Then coming to the physical properties now. The boiling points, we don't have any hydrogen bonding over here. We only have dipole-dipole interactions. Is that clear? So that's the part over there. So due to absence of H bonding, the boiling points of aldehydes and ketones are lower than corresponding alcohols. All right. Now, but aldehydes and ketones don't have hydrogen bonding among themselves, but they do have hydrogen bonding up to 4 carbon atoms when dissolved in water. So with water, aldehydes and ketones will have hydrogen bonding where the carbonyl oxygen will pull the H of the water towards itself. So look at that, lower aldehydes and ketones up to 4 carbon atoms, that is still butanone, are soluble in water due to H bonding. But the solubility decreases as the size increases, because we know as the bulk of the alkyl group increases, the alkyl group behaves hydrophobic, hydro-water, phobic, phobia, hate, water repelling groups. That's why solubility decreases. So on its own, between two aldehydes, between two ketones, we don't have any H bonding. Keep in mind. But lower aldehydes and ketones till 4 carbon atoms are soluble in water because they form hydrogen bonding with water molecules. That's one. Then chemical reactions, we have nucleophilic addition reactions over there because of the polarity of the carbonyl group. So we say as the bulk of the alkyl group increases, the alkyl group is an electron repelling group, plus I effect. So as the bulk of the alkyl group increases, it shows steric hindrance. Steric hindrance, it's gonna basically be repelled over there. Because of the bulk of the alkyl group, the nucleophile is repelled. Hence we say lower the bulk of the alkyl group, more reactive is the aldehyde and the ketone. So aldehydes are more reactive because formaldehyde is the most reactive because there's no alkyl group. In fact, there's only H. Then is acetaldehyde, then is acetone, then is what we have over there is CH3 twice CHCO, diisopropyl ketone, and CH3 thrice C twice CO. That's di-third butyl ketone. So formaldehyde had only H, acetaldehyde methyl, then what I can call acetone has 2 methyl groups. So more plus I effect. Di-isopropyl ketone will have 2 isopropyl, and di-third butyl ketone will have 2 third butyl groups. So more the bulk of the alkyl groups, more the plus I effect, reactivity decreases. That's why it says reactivity decreases as the steric hindrance, 3D rotation of atoms or groups in space, which will block the path of the incoming nucleophile. That's what's called steric hindrance. Stere, 3D rotation of atoms or groups in space along the X, Y, or the Z axis. Hindrance, to block the path of the incoming nucleophile. Then, due to plus R effect of the benzene ring, that is positive resonance, aromatic aldehydes and ketones are less reactive than aliphatic aldehydes. So the reactivity wise, benzaldehyde is more reactive. Then that's methyl phenyl ketone, that's acetophenone, or last one is benzophenone. So more the bulk, less the reactivity. Now some addition. First one with NaHSO3, that is sodium bisulfite. with sodium bisulfite, it forms a crystalline salt, that is the sodium bisulfite derivative, where if you add the acid or the base, the original carbonyl compound is regenerated. So reaction with sodium bisulfite followed by addition of acid or base regenerates the carbonyl compound is basically to check the purity and identification of the carbonyl compound. Here only one of the ketones do not react, that is acetophenone does not react. The reason is because of steric hindrance. So look at that point. Aldehydes and aliphatic methyl ketones form crystalline bisulfite, which are used for purification. I'm boxing these words, these are important. Purification and separation of aldehydes and ketones. All right. Acetophenone is an exception because of steric hindrance. With Grignard's reagent, alcohols are formed. Formaldehyde plus Grignard's, primary alcohol. Aldehyde other than formaldehyde plus Grignard's, secondary alcohol. Ketones plus Grignard's, tertiary alcohol. That's the part. All reaction of Grignard's, nucleophilic addition. Nucleophile I've told you is carbon ion. Then next one. Now this is an add-on reaction. It's an extra reaction what we have. Addition of alkyl aryl lithium to ketone. Alkyl lithium or aryl lithium to ketone over there. What will happen? Grignard's reagent react with carboxylic acids. So RMGX reacts with carboxylic acid. It's clear, to evolve an alkene corresponding to the alkyl or aryl group of the Grignard. So depending on the R of the Grignard's reagent, we get respective over there nothing but RCOMGX, that's basically the complex, and you get over there either an alkane or you get an arene. Arene is basically benzene. In contrast, it says alkyl lithium or aryl lithium are more nucleophilic than Grignard. They further add to the lithium salt of the acid to form an addition product, which on hydrolysis will give respective ketone. So look at that. Acids with alkyl lithium, it forms a salt. That salt will break down to give respective ketone, or it will give you an acyl ketone. It can contain an aromatic ring also. So the reaction goes this way. If you have acids with Grignard, it breaks down to give you an alkane. Why? ये हम लोग ने उसमें किया था, किसी को याद हो तो, hydrocarbons. Grignard's reagent reacts with any source of proton and gets decomposed to respective hydrocarbon. So it's basically very easy to understand. This reaction will be something like this. See here. What I'll try to put up to you. The R of the RMGX pulls the H of the acid to give you an alkane, and remaining is the salt RCOOMGX. So याद था ना, Grignard's reagent reacts with water, with alcohols, primary amines, secondary amines, carboxylic acids. R will pick up the H to form its alkane. That's one part. And second, with alkyl lithium, if you react with acids, all right, then first parameter, it forms its respective lithium salt, which if you hydrolyze, you get respective ketone. Second reaction with HCl, that's hydrogen cyanide, which is a very, very weak acid. So to get cyanide, the reaction is carried out in an alkaline medium, because HCl, if you react with an alkali, then it will form water and cyanide ions are ionized there. So to get free cyanide, that's why it says the pH is 9 to 10. 9 to 10 means alkaline medium. So on the arrow, you can also write in presence of OH ions, because the HCl will ionize, because it's a its Ka value is very low. It's a very weak acid. You get derivatives called cyanohydrin, which has OH and cyanide groups. Now these cyanohydrins, if you hydrolyze, then we get respective alpha hydroxy acid, what we also call as alpha amino acids can be formed here. Like look at that, acetaldehyde with HCN. So to the carbonyl group being polar, the H comes on this, cyanide goes to carbon. We get acetaldehyde cyanohydrin. And if you hydrolyze matlab cyanide gets converted to acid. The asterisk in between means it's optically active. So the functional group, that's why it's called alpha hydroxy acid. That's lactic acid. Okay, optical activity, dextro and levo. With water, carbonyl groups, 1,1-diols or geminal diols or hydrates are formed over there. Now this is again with water is an extra reaction, what we have. So if you have a carbonyl group, is this clear? You have geminal diols. Geminal, I hope everybody knows, attached to the same carbon. Tendency to form hydrate decreases with steric hindrance, meaning as the bulk of the alkyl group increases, but obvious tendency to form hydrates is less. So formaldehyde is the one, almost exclusively gives a hydrate. Acetaldehyde is only 58%, whereas acetone does not form a hydrate. So this is formaldehyde, HCH2, OH twice what it forms. So with water, know this much, they form its respective geminal diols or hydrates. Aldehydes have greater tendency to form hydrates. Electron withdrawing substitutes around the carbonyl carbon increases the, what is electron withdrawing substituent? The one which will pull electrons, all right? And thus it results in the formation of hydrate. This is all an extra part. Chloral or indane, a compound which is basically 1,2,3 triode, they form hydrates. That's an extra part over there, what we have. Chloral, we all know, CCl3CHO, that's trichloroacetaldehyde. It readily combines to form hydrates, all right? And same way, indane 1,2,3 trione, that's basically with water, they form hydrates, forming respective diols. That's a geminal diol. It's an extra part, so don't bother. Yeah, this one we have with monohydric alcohols. What is that? Aldehyde or ketone react with dry HCl gas in an acidic medium with alcohols. All right, so aldehydes or ketones with alcohols in an acidic medium of dry HCl gas, it first gives you hemiacetal. What is hemi? Hemi means half. Half alkoxy, half alcohol. That's called hemiacetal. And then if you add the second mole, it forms respective acetal. What is acetal? Geminal dialkoxy compound. So there are two methoxy groups. ये दोनों methoxy कहाँ से आए? Methanol से आए. CH3O, CH3O. That's how. If I had used excess of ethanol, I would have got over there nothing but CH. Instead of 2 methoxy, I would have got 2 ethoxy groups. So remember, hemiacetal, half alkoxy, half alcohol. Acetal, geminal dialkoxy compound, where both the alkoxy are coming from its alcohols. Ketones over there, what it says, ketones do not react with monohydric alcohol to form ketones, but they react with dihydric alcohols like ethylene glycol in presence of para-toluene sulfonic acid to form cyclic ketones. So it's not only acetone. If acetaldehyde also reacted with a what we call as a glycol, it will form a cyclic acetal or a cyclic ketone. So acetone, look at that, with ethylene glycol in presence of an acidic medium, that is para-toluene sulfonic acid. So you will have para-toluene sulfonic as SO3H and CH3, para to each other. You get acetone, ethylene glycol, ketyl. That's the compound it forms. Acetyls and ketyls being ethers are stable glycol, ketyl towards alkali, but are hydrolyzed to give back the original compounds. So we say acetyls and ketyls are therefore used to protect these groups in the organic reactions against alkaline oxidizing agents. So if you try to hydrolyze them with dilute acid, these ketyls or acetyls, they will give you back the original compound. That's the reason why I say these groups are protected with reaction with alkaline oxidizing agent. Then comes addition reaction. Mein one more point. Addition of nucleophiles to alpha beta unsaturated compound. I hope everybody knows now alpha beta. To the functional group, the carbon atom derives. So here this is CHO, your functional group. So first is alpha, next to it is alpha, and next is beta. That's acrolein. They may represent, but they have resonating structures. So in the resonating structures, if the oxygen pe charge goes, you will have the double bond going there. So oxygen develops a negative charge. This carbon develops a positive charge. Then the double bond between 3 and 4 can shift, and the positive charge can come on this, and the negative charge will remain on 4. So that's the part what we see at alpha beta unsaturated aldehyde. So this is a concept for you to understand. Okay, in aldol or ketol condensation, when we do, we say once it forms beta hydroxyaldehyde or beta hydroxy ketone, why does it dehydrate to give alpha beta unsaturated aldehyde? Because the alpha beta unsaturated aldehyde is stabilized by resonance. That's the part what is explained here. Okay. Now, what it says. All right. In the above stage evidence C2, C3. Okay. Therefore, the nucleophile may attack C2, C3, giving either 1,2 addition, or at C4 or beta giving 1,4 addition. When the nucleophile is strong, 1,2 addition predominates, that is normal addition occurs across the carbonyl group. However, the nucleophile is weak, then 1,4 addition takes place. So now we are talking about is in these alpha beta unsaturated aldehydes, how does the addition happen? Look at that. Acrolein, if you add HCN, then in that case it will be 1,2 addition. 1,2 means only across what we have as the aldehydic group part. So we will have acrolein cyanohydrate. But if you have acrolein reacting with HBr, which is a weak one, then there we have is nothing but a 1,4 addition. 1,4 addition means what's going to happen? Yahan se 1 electron will move here. Yahan se 1 electron will move here. And the addition will happen at the two extreme ends. So look at that. CH double bond CH. Then you will have a OH coming in. Means here this H will move here and the Br will come over here. And which on tautomerism will give you the respective compound. So what it's trying to say is 1,2 addition is generally if you're having a strong nucleophile, and if there's a weak nucleophile, then there is 1,4 addition. That's the part. As ketones are less reactive, therefore with ketones, irrespective of the nature, you always have 1,4 addition because they are weak. So look at that, methyl vinyl ketone. Similar manner, this double bond moves here, this one double bond moves here. So यहाँ double bond आ जाएगा, O पे H चला जाएगा, and the Cl goes on this carbon, which on tautomerism gives you 4-chlorobutanol. I hope the tautomerism part is clear to everybody. Okay, so you will have this double bond. Understand the tautomerism very well. Those who are not clear, this double bond will move here, and this H will move here. You get the compound. 4-chlorobutanol. Same way other examples are given there. Now it says 1,4 addition of carbanions to alpha beta unsaturated compounds are termed as Michael addition reaction. This is all an extra part. All right, entire part is an extra part. Since 1,4 occurs at the terminal of the conjugated systems, conjugated alternately arranged double bonds. Therefore, 1,4 additions are also called conjugate additions, and they are catalyzed by cupric ions. They have given some examples like cyclohex 2-ene-1-one. If you react with Grignard, then the alkyl group straight away comes and attaches over there. What we have as the 1,4 addition part taking place. So you straight away get 3-alkyl cyclohexanone. Then nucleophilic addition, very important point now, elimination reactions. Basically what we call as the condensation reaction. Here this happens in a weakly acidic medium with a pH of 3.5, all in an acidic medium where there's removal of water. Where we say with NH2OH, it forms oximes C double bond NOH. And we'll be doing a reaction in the next chapter, amines. Oximes on reduction gives you primary amines. Same way with hydrazine, NH2, you get respective hydrazone. With phenylhydrazine, you get phenyl hydrazone. With 2,4-DNP, that is 2,4-dinitrophenylhydrazine. This is a laboratory test to detect the carbonyl group. We get 2,4-dinitrophenylhydrazone. And with semicarbazide, we get semicarbazole, all in a acidic medium, low P of H of 3.5. That's one. Because of the lone pair. Yeah, now in this CONH2, when it's happening, now in semicarbazide, look at this carefully. NH2, NH, CO, NH2. Which condensation, which will be removed? It will be the O of the carbonyl group and the H2 of the NH2 group, not the amide part. मतलब ये CONH2 का NH2 नहीं होगा. Why? Because there will be resonance. So it's difficult to remove the 2 hydrogen of the CONH2. Keep in mind. So whenever there's removal part, it is from the NH2, which is on the end, not the amide group, because CONH2 is nothing but the resonating structures are there. That's why it will be difficult over there. Okay. About all these derivatives, hydrazones, oximes, 2,4-DNP compounds and all, what it says, all these derivatives are well-defined crystalline with sharp melting points. So they are used for identification and characterization of aldehydes and ketones. So as they have sharp melting points, same thing we spoke for bisulfide compounds. So due to sharp melting points, they can be used to identify the carbonyl compounds. Then oxidation reduction reactions taking place over there. In the presence of hydrogen on the carbonyl group, we all know aldehydes are easily oxidized to acids over there. So in the presence of solution like Tollens reagent, Fehling solution, also one more is there. We had Skiff's reagent that's ahead there. We also have Benedict's solution. Aldehyde acts as good reducing agent. Why? Because in aldehyde, there is one H directly attached to the carbonyl group, which explains the reducing properties. Tollens reagent is ammoniacal silver nitrate, where we say you will be taking over there nothing but AgNO3. To that AgNO3, you will add over there nothing but NaOH. You will get a thick white curdy precipitate inside. To the same solution, you will add NH4OH till the precipitate dissolves and you have a clear solution smelling of ammonia. That's called Tollens reagent. Ammoniacal silver nitrate, AgNH3 twice plus because silver is in +1 state and OH outside. That's a coordinated complex where ammonia is the ligand and silver is the metal. Then what happens is the silver from the complex breaks down and we have a silver mirror happening. That is silver. So aldehydes gets oxidized. Tollens reagent will get reduced to silver mirror. That is one point what we have. Then the next one to talk, what we see over here is nothing but both is given. Tollens is given by both aliphatic and aromatic. Then is Fehling solution. In the lab, you will see two solutions, Fehling solution A and Fehling solution B. Fehling solution A is alkaline copper sulfate and Fehling solution B is Rochelle salt. That's what we call as sodium potassium tartrate. Okay. Now in this, what is done? The two are mixed together. When you add an aldehyde, aldehyde gets oxidized to its acid, which ionizes to give its acetate part. It gives its respective, for acetic acid will give acetate, propionic acid will give propionate because weak acids will ionize. And Fehling solution gets reduced to a red precipitate of cuprous oxide. Okay. Or we have Benedict solution, which is also blue in color. That's an alkaline solution of copper sulfate containing sodium citrate. Now only aliphatic aldehydes will reduce Fehling solution, but not aromatic aldehydes reduce Fehlings or Benedicts. All right. For example, remember benzaldehyde. The reason I've discussed with you because benzaldehyde, because of resonance, what happens over there? Aldehyde themselves, benzaldehyde itself is a very weak reducing agent and Fehling solution is a very weak oxidizing agent. That's why the reaction probability is not there between the two. Oxidation of ketones. Ketones are generally not oxidized by oxidizing agent like Tollens or Fehlings. Hence, they can be used for distinguishing between aldehydes and ketones. I've told you distinguishing test given by one, not given by other. And ahead I said hydroxy ketones will reduce these. Ketones will not reduce, but hydroxy ketones will reduce Fellings and Tollens reagent. So for ketones, as there is no H attached, you require a stronger oxidizing agent like nitric acid, KMNO4 and acidified potassium dichromate, where the CC bond will break and you get a mixture of different acids with less number of carbon atoms, giving a mixture of carboxylic acid containing lesser number of carbon atoms. If anybody remembers in alcohols, I had discussed with you all Popp's rule. What is Popoff's rule over there? Popoff's rule states that whenever there is an oxidation of an unsymmetrical ketone, then the carbonyl group will always stay with the smallest alkyl group. Smallest alkyl is methyl. So the product formed will always be acetic acid, will be a major product. And the carbon atoms which become less, they go out as CO2 and water. All right. One more oxidation. This is an extra part again, everyone. That's called Baeyer-Villiger oxidation reaction. We'll see what is happening basically. It involves conversion of ketones into esters. So look at that. This was a ketonic group. It finally became an ester linkage. So ketones to ester and cyclic ketones into lactones. Look at that. Cyclic lactones, we know, na, oxygen atom next in a closed chain to a ketonic group. Those are called as lactones over there. And this is in the presence of peroxy acids like peroxyacetic acid or trifluoroperoxyacetic acid. Peroxy means the peroxide bond compounds. So converting ketones to ester, that's called Baeyer-Villiger reaction. So write like that as an extra point. That's one. It says among alkyl group, the ease of migration is tertiary is more reactive, and among aryl groups, the ease of migration is para-methoxyphenol is more than para-toluol or para-chlorophenol. Para-methoxy, methoxy shows maximum plus I, para-chloro will show minus I. So the reactivity is more. Haloform reaction, positive iodoform test. Positive iodoform test given by those aldehydes which have 3 replaceable alpha H. So aldehydes having 3 replaceable alpha H and ketones, aldehydes and ketones with 3 so any one alpha carbon. Okay, aldehyde there is only one, but ketones will have 2 alpha. So any one alpha you should have 3 hydrogen. Not the addition, dono alpha ke H ko add nahi karna hai. Any one alpha you should have 3 H, or alcohols having 3 replaceable beta H. So 3 replaceable alpha H in ketones is what we also call as methyl ketone. And alcohols with 3 replaceable beta H, that is what we call as methyl carbinol. If anybody remembers carbinol system, carbinol was basically the name of methanol extracted from wood. By destructive distillation of wood, methanol was obtained. So if I do methyl carbinol, matlab from methanol, replace one H and put a methyl group. So technically the compound is ethanol only. So CH2OH is your carbinol and methyl carbinol. So basically this will have 3 replaceable beta H atoms. Got the part? So aldehyde ketones with 3 replaceable alpha H and alcohols having 3 replaceable beta H will always give yellow crystals of iodoform, or it will give chloroform also. That's called the haloform test. Normally we use is NaOI, that is a hypohalite solution. Either so on the arrow, it's either iodine in presence of NaOH or iodine in presence of sodium carbonate. Both will give NaOI, sodium hypoiodide, which is a mild oxidizing agent. So that will oxidize the aldehyde, oxidize the alcohol to respective aldehyde or ketone, depending upon the compound what it is. Okay. If it is going to be a primary alcohol, it will give an aldehyde, and then aldehyde will give you a haloform test. It can be also with respect to acetone also, because acetone also has 3 replaceable alpha H. Then next what it says, reduction now. Now aldehydes and ketones on reduction, aldehydes on reduction, primary alcohol, ketones on reduction, secondary alcohol. Either use hydrogen and nickel or platinum palladium, or we also use, if anybody remembers, what was that part over there? Ranny nickel. There's an alloy of nickel and aluminium, and the surface is leached with caustic soda. We can also use lithium borohydride and sodium borohydride. Now, lithium aluminum hydride is a powerful reducing agent. Lithium aluminum hydride reduces only aldehydes and ketones, but does not reduce acids, esters, amides, and nitriles. Even double bond of alpha, beta, unsaturated aldehydes and ketones are also reduced. In contrast, sodium borohydride reduces only the carbonyl group of aldehydes ketones, but not the alpha, beta, CC bonds. That's the part to understand, very important. Reduction of ketones to 2-degree alcohol also occurs with aluminium isopropoxide in isopropyl alcohol. That's called Mervin-Pondroff-Verley equation, which is a reverse of Oppenauer oxidation. We discussed Oppenauer, ye bhi extra point hai pura. So remember, two reactions opposite. What was Oppenauer oxidation? 2-degree alcohol is oxidized to ketone in presence of excess of isopropyl alcohol, which is reduced to acetone. Yeah, iska exactly ulta ho raha hai. Reduction of ketones are getting reduced to 2-degree alcohol in presence of isopropyl alcohol, which is getting oxidized to acetone. There the catalyst used was aluminium tert butoxide. Here the catalyst is aluminium isopropoxide. That's called Mervin-Pondroff equation. Okay, that's one. Then comes, we have Wolff-Kishner reduction and Clemenson's reduction. Aldehydes and ketones reduce with zinc amalgam and HCl. That's Clemenson's reduction. And what was the gist with Clemenson's reduction, if anybody remembers? In Clemenson's reduction, we said the carbonyl group is reduced to methylene group. So wherever you have C double bond, make it CH2. Same as Wolff-Kishner reaction, same way. Reaction of aldehyde or ketone first with hydrazine in KOH to form its respective hydrazone. Hydrazone in the presence of ethylene glycol at a precise temperature of 453 to 473 Kelvin. Is this clear? And followed by what we have as nothing but that compound, when it breaks down, it gives respective over there alkane. There also the same thing was happening. You can reduce the carbonyl group to methylene group. Both the cases, we get respective alkanes over there. And the third one is what we are having is nothing but red phosphorus and HI. What do you see? 1 second. What happened to the screen now? 1 minute. Yeah, the carbonyl group is reduced over there. 1 minute. 1 second. I think the screen has moved. Let me do it again. Share. One sec. We'll just get screened again. One minute. I'll try to. Yeah, okay. Proper. And the third one is with red phosphorus and HI. There also you will have the reduction taking place of aldehydes and ketones to alkanes. So everywhere is the carbonyl group getting reduced to methylene group. Next, people, important point, aldol condensation. Now, aldol condensation, characteristic reaction given by those aldehydes and ketones which contains alpha H atoms. Where in the alpha H atoms, what is happening? There is formation of aldol, aldehydic group and alcoholic group. And that aldol further undergoes dehydration to give you alpha beta unsaturated aldehyde. And normally the reaction is the presence of dilute NaOH or 10% NaOH. That's how the reaction works. Okay. So basically, if I have two similar aldehydes, then that's basically called as self aldol. And if I take two different aldehydes or two different ketones having alpha H atoms, we get a mixture of four products, two self aldol and two cross aldol. That's the part. We'll look at that reactions. Now this is just for your understanding part. The H normally is picked up, the H, the alpha H, what you see here is mainly picked up by the alkali. But for understanding purposes, what we can say, alpha H goes to the carbonyl oxygen, alpha carbon goes to the carbonyl carbon. Alpha H of one molecule, this is the first, that's the second. Alpha H, this you can do for MCQs, a shortcut it is. The alpha H of the first molecule goes to the carbonyl oxygen of the other. In practice, it doesn't go. It's taken up by the alkali, okay? But this is the faster way to do it. Alpha H of the first molecule goes to the carbonyl oxygen of the second molecule. And the alpha carbon of the first molecule goes to the carbonyl carbon of the second molecule. You will always get an aldol, always. OH and CHO together. And then there will be alpha beta elimination. Is this clear? So alpha and beta, matlab now this OH and from the alpha, the H goes. So a double bond comes between alpha and beta. That's formation of croton aldehyde what we have. Clear? That's one part. Same way if I take two acetone molecules, similar manner, you will first get diacetone alcohol. All right. Where remember the compounds with their IUPAC names. That's 4-hydroxy, 4-methyl, pentan 2-one, which on heating, again, formation of alpha beta unsaturated aldehyde. So from beta the OH, alpha the H, we get mesithyl oxide. That's 4-methyl, pen 3-ene 2-one. That way. Okay. Then two different will give a mixture of four different products. All right. Aldol takes place between two different aldehydes or two ketones, or between an aldehyde and a ketone is called cross aldol reaction. Then the base catalyst cross aldol between an aromatic aldehyde and an aliphatic aldehyde. There's one more name. It's called Claisen-Smith condensation. So keep in mind, this one lines you need to write it down. What is Claisen-Smith condensation? Reaction between an aromatic aldehyde and an what we call as an aliphatic aldehyde. That way. So look at that. If I have methanol, ethanol, methanol doesn't have alpha H because it's only H. So only acetaldehyde will have alpha H. So this will give its alpha H. So you'll have only one product, 3-hydroxypropanol, which undergoes beta elimination to give me acrolein. All right, which is nothing but prop-2-ene-al. Same way, acetone and formaldehyde. Formaldehyde has no alpha H, propanone has. So any one side, it will give its alpha H. So if it gives alpha H, we get 4-hydroxybutanone, which will finally break down to give me methyl vinyl ketone. That is alpha beta unsaturated aldehyde. Okay. So again, this is alpha, that is beta. So from beta the OH, alpha the H. Benzaldehyde and ethanol. This is Claisen-Smith, one aromatic aldehyde and one aliphatic aldehyde. Benzaldehyde also doesn't have alpha H. Ethanol has. So ethanol will give its alpha H. So we get only one compound, aldol, which finally gives you cinnamon aldehyde. All right. That's nothing but 3-phenyl prop-2-ene-al. All right. Same way, benzaldehyde with acetone. This is also Claisen-Smith. Benzaldehyde aromatic, acetone aliphatic. We will get nothing but benzyl acetone. That's one part. Okay. One more is given. This is an extra point here again. Perkin condensation. What is that? Aromatic aldehydes react with aliphatic anhydrides. And there is nothing but when you have aromatic aldehydes reacting with aliphatic anhydrides in presence of sodium salt, then it forms a condensation products, which on hydrolysis gives you alpha beta unsaturated acids. So catch carefully, benzaldehyde, again, it's an extra point. Benzaldehyde with acetic anhydride. Remember, no, acetic anhydride, 2 moles of acids condense in presence of a dehydrating agent like conc H2SO4 to form its anhydride. Then in presence of sodium acetate, it's going to form over there nothing but it says it will give you a mixture of alpha beta unsaturated acids. So what is the part to be understood here? C6H5CH, that comes from benzaldehyde. Then double bond CH that's cinnamic acid and acetic acid. It forms two. Acetic acid, because with acetic anhydride, look at that, it's forming an intermediate compound, C6H5CH, and then CH3CO. So this part, C6H5CH, double bond CH, COOH. All right. This entire part will be one acid. That's cinnamic acid. And that's the second acid, what it forms, that will be acetic acid. That's Perkin condensation. There are a lot of extra points, as I said. Just write down only for the knowledge base in case if they ask, you should know. Benzoin condensation. What is that part? On heating with alcoholic potassium cyanide, 2 moles of aromatic aldehyde condensed to give you benzoin. Benzoin is basically you have an OH and a C double bond O group, 2 groups together. Like how we have aldol, no? Same way benzoin, but specifically only with benzaldehyde. So you have C6H5, CHOH, CO, C6H5. That's the compound form. That's benzoin. Then, yes, this is very important. This was there in when we did one of the what I can call MCQs also, this was there. Intramolecular aldol condensation. Within one molecule only we have the aldol. What it says, if a compound contains 2 aldehyde or ketone, or 1 aldehyde and a ketone at 1,6 or 1,7 position with respect to another, then the enolate ion, enolate is basically ene and the alkoxide ion of one carbonyl can add to the carbonyl of another to form an aldol. Well, look at that. Hexane 1,6-diol. Normally 1,6 we don't write, it's just diol 2. Then you can have aldol condensation between the two, between the same molecule. Where what is happening? This is the alpha H. So this alpha H goes here and it becomes a cyclic compound. Formation of cyclopent 1 in carb aldehyde. All right. Then next we have Cannizzaro and one more reaction that's called as Tischenko reaction. Tischenko is again an extra point. We just have Cannizzaro. Cannizzaro given by those aldehydes which are devoid or which do not have alpha H. All right. Then those is what we call as nothing but Cannizzaro's reaction. That is reaction with 50% concentrated alkali undergoes disproportionation. Disproportionation, simultaneous oxidation and reduction of the same species. So if you take formaldehyde with 50% NaOH, 1 molecule of formaldehyde gets oxidized to formic acid. That reacts with NaOH to form sodium formate. So sodium formate is my oxidized product. And 1 mole of formaldehyde gets reduced to its alcohol. Formaldehyde on reduction gives methanol. So methanol is my reduced product. So do it orally. Same way if I take benzaldehyde, 1 mole of benzaldehyde gets oxidized to benzoic acid, which with sodium salt forms sodium benzoate. And 1 mole of benzaldehyde gets reduced to benzyl alcohol. Mechanism, it is basically you have shift of hydride ion, that is H minus is shifted. Mechanism is just for understanding over there. It's over there, nothing but intramolecular shift of hydride ion, what we have. To give you sodium benzoate and benzyl alcohol. Then we also have something called as cross Cannizzaro. What is cross Cannizzaro? Between 2 different aldehydes. Okay. Now this is only when it says one of them is formaldehyde, because formaldehyde is the most reactive aldehyde. So when you have cross Cannizzaro between benzaldehyde and formaldehyde, more reactive aldehyde, that's formaldehyde, undergoes the oxidation product. So formaldehyde will form formic acid, which with NaOH will form sodium formate. And second, benzaldehyde will be undergo reduction to give you benzyl alcohol. So the products between formaldehyde and benzaldehyde will be sodium formate and benzyl alcohols. That is one point. That's an important one. So look at that. Here we are having nothing but, para-methoxy benzaldehyde and formaldehyde. If you have, then formaldehyde forms sodium formate and this will form its alcohol, sorry. That's para-methoxy benzyl alcohol. Same way we can have intramolecular Cannizzaro reaction. There also you will be getting, look at that. Glyoxyl, that is basically 2 aldehyde groups together. We have done in beta elimination. If you're not beta, sorry, ozonolysis. If anybody remembers, ozonolysis of acetylene, when you do, we get glyoxyl. That's ethane diol. That with concentrated NaOH. First, it forms a salt, which with HCl gives you glycolic acid. Some other examples is where we have two aldehyde group in the same compound, then one CHO gets gets reduced to primary alcohol. One CHO gets oxidized to acid, which reacts with NaOH to form its salt. So within one molecule only, if we have one oxidized and one reduced, then we can have the concept of intramolecular Cannizaro's reaction. That's the part. Then Tischenko reaction. Again, this is an extra point only. What it says over here. All aldehyde with or without alpha H can be made to undergo Cannizaro on treatment with aluminium ethoxide. However, under the conditions, the alcohol and the acid produced as a result of Cannizaro, they combine with each other to form ester. So what is the logic? Here it says, in Tischenko reaction, all aldehydes with or without alpha can be made to undergo Cannizaro in the presence of aluminium ethoxide. Where what happens is the acid, what happens? One aldehyde gets oxidized to acid, which will form its sodium salt. One aldehyde will get reduced to its alcohol. Now that acid, what it forms, and then forms a sodium salt. What it says, the acid and alcohol formed. Aldehyde oxidized to acid, aldehyde reduced to alcohol. The acid and alcohol combined to give you ester. Look at that. 2 moles of acetaldehyde if it is in the presence of aluminium ethoxide. 1 mole of acetaldehyde will give acetic acid. There is no NaOH now. So no, it doesn't form its salt. And one gets reduced, so it forms ethyl alcohol. Acetic acid and ethanol. Ethyl acetate. That's the ester form. No? Ethyl coming from ethyl alcohol. Acetate coming from acetic acid. That's what we call as Tischenko reaction. Okay. Same way, propion aldehyde. If you take 2 moles, 1 mole of propion aldehyde gets oxidized to propionic acid. 1 mole gets reduced to N-propyl alcohol. N-propyl alcohol and propionic acid. N-propyl propanoate or N-propyl propionate. Okay. Then coming to the last reactions now. Reaction with ammonia. With ammonia, we have different products, right? Like for example, a formaldehyde reacts with ammonia to form hexamethylene tetramine. That's called urotropin. Remember, no, we discussed this. CH2 6 times N4. Internal urinary antiseptic. That's urotropin. 1. Then it says aldehyde other than formaldehyde react with ammonia to form aldehyde ammonia. Like acetaldehyde plus ammonia gives you acetaldehyde ammonia, which forms a heterocyclic trimer. Benzaldehyde gives hydrobenzamide, and ketones like acetone. First 2 moles of acetone condense. Is this clear? Among each other, and then they react with ammonia to give you diacetone amine. With PCl5, aldehydes and ketones both give geminal dihalides. Where aldehyde will give geminal terminating, ketones will give geminal non-terminating. Then Skiff's reagent. Remember, we have Skiff's base as well as Skiff's reagent. What was Skiff's base? Aldehydes or ketones reacting with primary amine gives you Skiff's base. And Skiff's reagent is basically a distinguishing test between aldehyde ketone. Where what is Skiff's reagent? It is basically a pink colored solution. That's a magenta dye called para-rosa aniline hydrochloride. Now this pink dye is made colorless by bubbling sulfur dioxide gas into it. So after bubbling sulfur dioxide, the colorless solution obtained is called Skiff's reagent. When you add aldehydes to it, the pink color is restored. All right. So if the pink color is restored, it means aldehydes have got oxidized and Skiff's reagent has got reduced back to pink color. So for distinguishing test between aldehyde ketones, you have Fehling solution, Tollens reagent, Skiff's reagent, as well as Benedict solution. 4 we have. That's one part. Then there are some of the electrophilic substitution also, which is with the aromatic ring, because the aldehydic group in aromatic aldehyde or ketone is meta-directing. Meta-directing over there, that's why it's electrophilic substitution. So we have halogenation, nitration, sulfonation to give meta-substituted compounds. All right, like we have meta-nitrobenzaldehyde form on nitration over there. Same way with halogenation, it will form its meta compound because CHO group is minus R effect. The CHO as well as the aromatic aldehydes and aromatic ketones both will give minus R effect, that is, or minus M effect, that is negative mesomerism. That's negative resonance meta directing. All right. Then this reaction, next one, what we have, that is also an extra reaction now. That's called Beckmann rearrangement. Oximes, that is aldehydes or ketones with hydroxylamine gives oximes. Oximes on treatment with catalyst, all right, it undergoes a rearrangement to give you a substituted amide. Amide is CONH. So look at that. Here we have anti-phenyl acetophenone oxime. All right, oxime is C double bond NOH. Anti means the functional group is clear on the is in the same side. So if you look at that, how we have cis and trans that way. So anti is similar to cis and syn is similar to trans. So here the groups are on opposite side and here they are on the same side. That's why the word anti and syn. So with Cong H2SO4, there is a rearrangement happening over there where it becomes NH, so CH3, C double bond O, and then NH C6H5. That's how the arrangement goes over there. So you have over there nothing but OH ka bond goes on this and the double bond comes over here that way. So you get N-phenyl acetamide or acid anilide. That's the special name to it. Same way if it is syn, then in that case, what will happen? C6H5 is there, the H comes, then we have a different arrangement. Phenyl comes on this side. So it becomes N-methyl benzamide. Because in amides, the naming is such where N-methyl C6H5CONH. You have replaced one of the H and put a methyl group. That's why we use nitrogen to name the compounds. So here also the same thing. You will have this double bond getting shifted over there with respect to, so you'll have C double bond O coming over there. So here this part will become a C double bond O and the H will move on this. That way. Beckmann's rearrangement, that is always trans or anti with respect to OH is what migrates. So anti or trans, that is with respect to the OH group. That is the part. So it's mainly used to distinguish geometrical isomer. This bond is also extra over there. That is a benzylic acid. Benzoins with oxidation with nitric acid gives benzyls. This is an extra point, so don't bother much on that. That's fine. Same way, this is also an extra point what we have. That's a Wittig reaction. If you remember Wittig reaction, we did no. A Wittig reaction, not, sorry, we did a different reaction. That was a Fittig reaction, what we had in halogen, like similar to words. Reaction between aldehyde ketone with phosphorus halide to give a substituted alkene. That's called Wittig reaction. This is also extra, so don't bother much on this. It's fine, not a problem. Then next we have carboxylic acids. Acids, normally we all call them as fatty acids. Fatty acids because the higher members, is this clear? They are all obtained by hydrolysis of oils and fats. Like we have beyond the 10 carbon atoms. So we have palmitic acid from palm oil, stearic acid from tallow, oleic acid from olive oil. They are all obtained by hydrolysis of oils and fats, and they are also called triacyl glycerides or triacyl derivatives of glycerol, what we also call them as triglycerides. Okay. Now the common name of the acid is from the source from where they are found. All right. So that's how the name is there. And IUPAC we call them as alkanoic acid. The COH carbon is generally at position 1. So look at these naming part over there. And we also have the trivial system. That's alpha, beta, gamma, delta, how we call. So alpha bromopropionic acid or 2-bromopropanoic acid, or alpha formyl. Formyl is for CHO. When CHO is a branch, keep in mind, when I have CHO and COH, COH is the primary group. So CHO becomes a branch, that's called formyl. So alpha formyl propionic acid. Dicarboxylic acid, succinic acid, adipic acid. Here we don't give the positions because the COH groups are terminating. So succinic is butane dioic, adipic is hexane dioic acid. That way. Then, now this is a very important example. If 3 carboxyl groups are not linked directly, is this clear? The 2 like carboxyl groups are included in the parent chain, while the third is considered as a branch. Well, look at that part. How do we do this now? Suppose we have the COH directly attached, like see in the first example, we call that at propane 1,2,3 tricarboxylic acid, because you're not taking any one. So that's what it says. If an unbranched carbon is directly attached, directly linked to 3-carboxyl group, then the acid is named as the derivative of alkane. Whereas look at the second compound, now the COH is not directly attached to the main chain. Like this COH is not directly attached now, it's attached to CH2. Then I considered 2 and the third is taken a branch. So look at that, 3-carboxymethyl. Why carboxymethyl? COH is carboxy. And from methyl, you substituted 1H by 1H is substituted there to get the COH group. So that's why 3-carboxymethyl pentane 1,5-dioic acid. Normally 1,5 they don't write, but if you write it also in some papers, they do specify. If they write it, fair enough, but look at the options and do it. You have to select many of the option where it is not there. But if all options are, they have given it, then you select that. That's one. So if all the 3 COH are not coming, then means if they are directly attached to the main chain, then you don't consider that. But like this one COH is not directly attached to the main chain. It's attached to CH2. That's why we consider 2 and the third one is left out. That's an important one. Again, structure of carboxyl group sp2 hybridized because it is C double bond OH. So carbonyl group has basically 3 sigma 1 pi. It's again sp2 hybridized. It's trigonal planar. Same part. So it's sp2 hybridized 120 degrees. Okay. The different resonating structures, what you see, structure 1, structure 2, 3, 4, and 5, the different resonating structures where the pi electrons and the lone pairs are moved. Where structure 4, the least important, it says over there. Now, why is the structure 4 the least important over there? Because carbon doesn't have a complete octet. It has a sextet and a positive charge. Carbon has only 6 electrons, whereas the other 2, it has a complete octet. Only important structures are 3 and 5. That is what you have to see. Because in both these structures, carbonyl carbon is electrically neutral. All right, that's the part over there. In case of aldehydes, only one structure as a result, only one structure is electrically neutral for carbonyl group. That is the first one. Neutral means no charge developed. As a result, carbonyl carbon is less electrophilic than carboxyl carbon is less electrophilic than carbonyl carbon. So you have to understand this part. The carboxyl carbon of carboxylic acid is less electrophilic than the carbonyl carbon of aldehydes and ketones, and hence it does not form, acids will not form oximes, hydrozones, and all those compounds. Methods of preparation: primary alcohol, that's with KMnO4, K2Cr2O7. You can oxidize primary alcohols and aldehydes to acids. Oxidation of alkyl benzene, however long the chain is, in presence of alkaline KMnO4 followed by acid hydrolysis, the long chain can be completely converted. The reason I have told you, because of the benzylic hydrogen ka reactivity is more. That's what it says. Finally, gives benzoic acid. Aromatic nucleus, the side chain is completely oxidized irrespective of the length of the chain. The reason I have told you is the higher reactivity of benzylic edge. And the ease of oxidation is toluene will be oxidized faster. Then hydrolysis of nitrile, we have done this. This is cyanides. There are 2 hydrolysis, acid and alkaline hydrolysis. Acid hydrolysis, cyanide first forms an intermediate amide, which you add water, gets converted to acid. So cyanides to acid where the intermediate is amide. This is acid hydrolysis. Well, look at that. Benzonitrile, is this clear? This is alkaline hydrolysis. First, it will form intermediate benzamide. NaOH, it forms sodium benzoate. And then what it says, the same sodium benzoate, if you react with HCl, then what's going to happen? Again, it will form back benzoic acid. So in alkaline hydrolysis, the reaction takes place in 2 steps. First, cyanides with NaOH, intermediate benzamide. Amide is actually formed, but you don't show it because it gets cancelled. It reacts ahead. Hydrolysis. You get sodium benzoate, salt. Salt, if you acidify, you get back the acid. Fourth method, carbonation of Grignard's reagent. It should not be carbocation, it should be carbonation. Carbonation. Carbonation of Grignard's reagent is adding Grignard's reagent to solid carbon dioxide or dry ice. Okay, so dry ice or solid CO2, where Grignard will form a complex which will give its acids. So all you do is where the R is there, you will add COOH. That's it. That's carbonation of Grignard's reagent. Hydrolysis of acid derivatives. So if you do acid or alkaline hydrolysis of esters, anhydrides, amides, and acid chloride, all will give you back the carboxylic acids. Oxidation of methyl ketones is basically we have done this, the haloform reaction, positive iodoform test. Then Koch reaction. Now this is again an extra part. This was there in the 11th, but alkenes react with CO plus steam over there, carbon monoxide with steam over there. In presence of phosphoric acid, it gives you propanoic acid. So totally carbon atoms gets added. 3. Look at that. If I take propene plus CO, then CH3 twice CH and you get 2-methyl propanoic acid. So that's an extra part, Koch reaction. Then from alkoxides and carbon monoxide, this is also an extra part. Heating a suitable sodium alkoxide with sodium alkoxide is RCOO. Sodium alkoxide is RONA plus carbon monoxide. It forms sodium carboxylate, which with HCl on acidification gives you back the acid. So alkoxide with carbon monoxide under pressure gives you sodium salt. And sodium salt, if you acidify, you get back the acid. Formic acid is prepared by the reaction of NaOH with carbon monoxide. So CO plus NaOH, sodium formate, that is sodium salt of formic acid, and that with HCl, the formic acid is regenerated. Then we have over there nothing but, look at that, conversion of acid into a higher homologue. Higher homologue, one higher, is called as homologation of an acid, and that's called as andite Oestrich reactions. Ye bhi extra part hai, where you can convert acetic acid to propionic acid that way. So don't bother much with this part. That's an extra part. Leave that. Physical properties, yes. First 4 aliphatic acids are soluble because of hydrogen bonding. Solubility will decrease as the bulk of the alkyl group will increase. Benzoic acid is insoluble in cold water, but it is soluble in hot water. So that's an exception. What do you need to know? Boiling points of carboxylic acids are the highest over there. Where we say carboxylic acid, they generally act as a dimer. Like if we see acetic acid in the vapor phase or in aprotic solvent like benzene, it forms a dimer. Melting points of carboxylic acids having even number are comparatively higher than the next lower or the higher homologue containing odd number due to symmetry. And chemical property, the acid strength. Acid strength over there, when we are talking, both acids and carboxylate ion are resonance stabilized, but carboxylate ion is better resonance stabilized. That is one part. So look at that. Now we have the effect of substituent. This is a very important part. So lower the bulk of alkyl group, more is the acidic strength. So formic acid is stronger. So acidity decreases as plus I effect will increase. Second is presence of electronegative atom will increase the acidic strength. So fluoroacetic acid, chloroacetic acid, bromo, iodo, and then acetic acid. So acidic strength increases as minus I effect increases. Second, more the number of halogen atoms, acidic strength is also more. Acetic acid, monochloroacetic acid, dichloroacetic acid, and trichloroacetic acid. All right. So we say acidic strength will increase as the number of halogen atoms will increase. So that's what it says. Acidity decreases as the number of atoms decreases. And next, it's also important where the halogen is. If the halogen is present, like say in this case, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. First one was 2-chlorobutanoic acid, then it's 3-chlorobutanoic acid, and then it is 4-chlorobutanoic acid. So if the halogen is attached next to the COH group, minus I effect is more, that acid will be stronger. Because as the distance increases, we know about inductive effect. It proceeds in a chain, and beyond 3 or 4 carbon atom, the effect becomes negligible over there. And that's why the acid strength will also decrease. So one, presence of plus I effect decreases the acidic strength. Second, presence of minus I effect groups will increase the acidic strength. Third, more the number of groups showing minus I effect, more the acidic strength. And fourth, the position of the group showing minus I effect, if it is near to the COH group, acidic strength is more. So that's the part. Formic acid is greater than benzoic, which is greater than acetic acid. Where it says the minus R effect, because carboxylic acid also gives resonance. That's nothing but with respect to resonance, minus R effect, meta directing. So it will destroy the aromatic character. Hence we say phenyl group is less electron donating than methyl. That's why benzoic acid is over there a stronger acid than acetic acid. And electron donating groups over there like alkyl OH NH2 decrease, while electron withdrawing groups increase the acidic strength of the substituted benzoic acid relatives over there. Ortho substituted benzoic acid are stronger acid than benzoic due to the ortho effect. We have discussed ortho effect, where there is some amount of intramolecular H bonding. That's an important point. And carboxylic acids are stronger than phenols, since carboxylate ion is better resonance hybridized. I have told you this, carboxylic acids, the Ka is normally 10 raised to -3 to 10 raised to -5, whereas phenols, the Ka is 10 raised to -10. Decarboxylation, on heating with soda lime, carboxylic acids will give alkanes containing 1 carbon less than the acid. So if I have acetic acid, CH3COH, I will get over there nothing but methane. That way. Same way, decarboxylation of where 1 carbon will go as CO2. Decarboxylation of beta keto acids. Carboxylic acids containing electron withdrawing group. Electron withdrawing means minus effect. Or COH at the beta carbon, then they undergo decarboxylation faster. Like look at that. 3-oxobutanoic acid. Oxo is the name if ketonic group is the branch. Aldehyde branch is called formyl, ketonic branch is called oxo. Then it forms a cyclic structure and finally gives you acetone. That is one part. Then Kolbe's electrolysis. This was there, if anybody remembers, in the hydrocarbon chapter. Electrolysis of aqueous solution of sodium or potassium salts of fatty acids gives you alkane. So if I take sodium acetate, then the CH3 sodium acetate as methyl, double it, you will get ethane at the anode. That way. If I take sodium propionate, and it's C2H5, that gets doubled. Alkyl group is ethyl. You'll get N-butane. Then Huns-Diecker reaction. We did this in halogen derivatives. Decarboxylation of silver salt of fatty acids by refluxing with bromine. It contains 1 carbon less than the parent acid. Then that basically Huns-Diecker reaction. Then dry distillation. Then Smith reaction. This is basically again an extra point over there. Acids react with hydrazoic acid, that's N3H, to give 1 degree amines. Reduction, carboxylic acid gives alkanes with lithium aluminum hydride or with diborane. Carboxylic acid gives primary alcohol. Third one, very important, alpha halogenation, HVZ reaction. The alpha hydrogen, is this clear, is replaced by halogen atom with red phosphorus and mainly with bromine or chlorine. It's mainly with bromine, where you get alpha chloro alpha bromo acids. Electrophilic substitution, that's because of the minus R effect, but the reactions are less. Like you can have meta nitrobenzoic acid, which is formed, all will be meta products formed over there. Carboxylic acids do not undergo Friedel-Crafts due to the deactivation of the carboxylic acid groups. Bromination and nitration of salicylic acid brings decarboxylation, forming 2,4,6 tri-substituted derivative. So see there, if you take salicylic acid, then what is happening? You are basically getting over there with bromine, you will have 2,4,6 tribromophenol. Or with nitric acid, salicylic acid preparation was Kolbe's reaction. There also it gives you picric acid. So if you are having salicylic acid with the OH and COH at ortho, we can have substitution happening at ortho and para directing groups with respect to OH. Then reducing property of formic acid. Now keep in mind, formic acid is the only acid which has an aldehydic group. So look at that. There is an aldehydic group over there. Okay, so it reduces Fehling solution, Tollens reagent. These two important. Same way with KMnO4, dichromate, all this is fine. Formic acid with conc H2SO4 heating gives you CO plus water. Sodium formate gives sodium oxalate plus hydrogen. Chemical properties with PCl5, PCl3 and SOCl2. It forms acid chlorides with strong dehydrating agent P4O10 or conc H2SO4. It gives anhydrides. And acid amides are formed by the reaction with ammonia. So ammonia plus acids will form ammonium salts, which on heating gives you acid amides, or acid chlorides plus ammonia also gives you acid amides. That is one part. Coming to the last part, acids on heating with alcohols or phenols in presence of conc H2SO4 or dry HCl, it gives ester. This is the normal one. This is called Fischer-Spire esterification. Now, when do you use the word Fischer? Acid plus alcohol in presence of conc H2SO4 is normal esterification. But in the presence of dry HCl, it gives an ester. Acid plus alcohol, that's nucleophilic substitution. That's called Fischer esterification. And esters are also formed when acid chlorides react with alcohol and phenol in presence of pyridine. This is a regular method. Alcohol plus acid chloride or alcohol plus acid anhydride gives us ester. Claisen condensation, this is again an extra point. Esters containing alpha H undergo self-condensation in presence of a strong base such as sodium ethoxide to give you beta keto esters. So look at that. CH3CO C2H5. So that's the alpha H next to the carboxylic acid. So 2 moles of ethyl acetate combined. There is removal of ethanol. You get a compound ethyl acetoacetate or a beta keto ester. That's Claisen condensation. It's an extra point. Don't budge on that. Then comparative reactivity wise, this is an important point towards a nucleophilic substitution. Acid chloride is more reactive than anhydride, then ester, and then amide. Know the groups. Acid chloride is COCl. Anhydride is COO and CO. Ester is COO. And acid amide is CO and H2. It is on the basis of the basic strength of the leaving group. So the leaving groups are chloride, RCO minus, RO in ester, and NH2 in amides. And the relative basic strength is, now this basic strength is with respect to what we have as the Lowry-Bronsted theory. Proton donor is an acid, proton acceptor is a base. So on that basis, we have this reactivity order. Okay. So the relative basic strength NH2 minus is a stronger base, then reactivity wise, it is the one which will be left the least. That's why amide's reactivity is the least. So it's with respect to Lowry-Bronsted theory. Proton donor is an acid and proton acceptor is a base. So this is the reverse order. And reactivity of acid derivatives is, yeah, that's the same part. Chloride, anhydride, ester, and amide over. Okay. All right.